Let's talk about job hopping. Now, I have always been a job hopper. It's a great way to be able to make more income. If you stay with a company for a longer time, let's say you stay with a company for 10 years, you can expect about a 3% or less annual raise. Now, by the time you've gotten 10 years, you're not really going to have made that much more money. Unless you've been promoted, and that's another thing. But let's say you job hop every 2 years. So when I first started out in my career, I was working multiple help desk roles with different companies. So my annual raise would be like 3%. I was making 45, 50,000 a year, so it really wasn't a ton of money. And 3% of 50,000 really isn't that much. So what I decided to do was job hop. So every 2 or 3 years, I would find another job doing essentially the same thing, or maybe some slight more responsibility. But I would switch companies, and I'd be able to score a $15,000 raise, which would far outweigh the amount of money that I would make staying at the same company and just hoping for more than a 3% raise or a promotion. Now, when you work in a help desk role, you can't really get promoted. I mean, you're all kind of the same level for the most part. So it is harder to move up unless you're going into a totally different career. So I would work for 2 years, switch jobs for $15,000 more, and then do the same thing. Now, one of the downsides to job hopping is, well, you're switching jobs. So you're switching commutes, you're starting a new job that you could or could not be good at, and then you run into issues where you may get fired or something like that. Like the stability is a little bit harder. Now, obviously, what you want to do when you're job hopping is try to job hop into a job that is slightly more responsibility. That way, on your resume, you're like, hey, I went from like a tier 1 to a tier 2 to a tier 3, instead of just job hopping like, oh, I worked at Walmart as a greeter, I worked at Target as a greeter. So you really want to kind of to jump into more responsible roles. Therefore, you can really maximize the amount of money that you're making. Now, eventually, you're going to get to an age where you found the job that you actually really like. Believe it or not, there are people out there that actually like what they do for a living. I am one of those people. I'm very happy where I'm at, the benefits that I have, and all that kind of stuff. So you will eventually get there. So don't be afraid to take risks and to switch jobs until you find something that you really like. The saying goes, if you find a job that you really like, you never work a day in your life. And that's true. I mean, there's some days that I look forward to getting up to go to work. I know that sounds crazy, but it is something that you can achieve. It's not just some illusion that one day you're going to find something. You have to find something that you like and be good at it. Don't find something that you hate and become good at it, and then you're just stuck doing that. So those are kind of my thoughts. Job hopping is a great way to make more money. Every 2 to 3 years, try to find a job with the same responsibility, if not a little bit more, and then you could get a $15,000 bump. Obviously, this totally depends. If you're a doctor, it's going to be a much bigger bump. If you're working at Wendy's and trying to get a job at McDonald's, that you're not going to get $15,000 more that way. But do your research, find out what other companies are paying with the current role that you have. And if your job allows, look for something that's remote. I work remotely. I love it. And the cool thing about being remote is you can work for a company in Alaska. You can work for a company in California. You can work for a company in West Virginia. And you can live in the middle of the mountains in North Carolina. And it's not going to be a big deal at all, as long as you have internet, of course. But job hopping, I am very much for it. Job hop until you find a job that has great hours, benefits that you love doing, and that you can see yourself there for a while. So yeah, that's what I got for you today. Job hopping is definitely a way to make more money. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.